Okay, this is English 250 week. Shit, I got confused. Week 6, part 6. Yeah. Okay, let's do it. I think it's week 6, part 6. I forgot to talk about Hamlet. I don't really have a ton to say about helicopters and shit. I was just talking about helicopters. All right. What am I doing? Oh yeah, I don't want to spend a ton of time on Hamlet. Partly because the example I would think of is an example we have now been over a couple of times for various reasons. But the confusions of levels of reality, you see that a little bit when Hamlet makes the play within the play, right? That he somehow seems more interested in making a play about murder than in actually finding out about the murder of the murder of his father and avenging it. So he seems like, again, because there's the reality of Hamlet's life, and then there's the representation of life on stage, and Hamlet seems to be more interested in one than the other. And you might also think about people who would maybe read Hamlet and think they know a lot about Denmark, but they don't. Because Hamlet's, a work. That's what Oscar Wilde's point would be. Also, was that you read Hamlet, but very few people I think are confusing Hamlet with a history book or thinking they know things about the Danish people based on Hamlet. But it's the kind of territory that we're in. Hamlet's not really confused about the difference between play and reality, but it's the kind of thing Baudrillard might be interested in. Okay, one example for us though is that it's worth pointing out that while it's pretty Hamlet basically can tell the difference between art and reality. He just gets a little more interested in art than reality. Although it's interesting that Hamlet puts on a play within the play, and then for us sitting in the audience, it's interesting because he's like talking about theater, and I'm like, dude, you're in a play called Hamlet. You're not really Hamlet. You're an actor pretending to be Hamlet, and you have a lot to say about what actors should do. You're an actor. Because if I'm sitting in my seat in the audience, I'm watching a play Hamlet, and then the characters in the play are watching a play. It's not the best example of that kind of thing, but you can see the levels of reality are starting to get a little blurry, because for a split second there, I'm watching a play that the characters are making, right? So like I'm in the audience, and then I'm watching Hamlet in the audience, and then he and I are watching the mousetrap play that he makes in the middle of Hamlet. So that's the kind of thing that we're thinking about. We've talked about this already, and about the confusions and the way the actor gets more invested in the sorrows of Hecuba than Hamlet can get invested in his own life. So I don't want to go over all that again. I will grab one quick Hamlet quote though that I like. This is really early in the play from page 3. When Hamlet first appears, one of the first things that happens to Hamlet in the play is his mother says, he's very depressed about the death of his father, and everybody kind of thinks he should get over it. That this is not that big a deal. Claudius says, listen, it's normal that fathers die before their sons, and his father died before him, and his father died before him. So why are you so upset? And they actually ask him, like, why seems it so particular with thee? Like, why is grief such a big deal for you? Everybody has to deal with this. Fathers die. That's part of life. Why seems it so bad with you? And Hamlet has an interesting answer to that question. He says it is, because she says, good Hamlet, cast thy knightly color off, meaning stop wearing all black. It's been like months. Let thy eye look like a friend on Denmark, meaning Denmark here means Claudius, the king of, they call him Denmark because he's king of Denmark. Like, be nice to your stepfather. Do not forever with thy veiled lids seek for thy noble father in the dust. Thou knowest 'tis common, right? Lots of people die. All that lives must die, passing through nature to eternity. And Hamlet says, aye, madam, it is common, like death is common. She says, if it be, why seems it so particular with thee? Like, if death is so common, why are you so upset about this one death? And Hamlet gives a real interesting response here. He says, seems, madam? Nay, it is. Why, no, not seems. 'Tis not alone my inky cloak, good mother, meaning the black clothes that he's wearing, nor customary suits of solemn black, nor windy suspiration of forced breath, that's heavy sighing, nor the fruitful river in the eye, that's crying, nor the dejected havior of the visage, meaning looking sad on your face, together with all forms, moods, shapes of grief that can denote me truly. These indeed seem, for they are actions that a man might play, but I have that within which passes show, these but the trappings and the suits of woe. That's interesting. So she says, if this is so normal that fathers die, why does it seem so bad for you? And he says, seems? Nay, madam, I know not seems. It is. But this introduces a central problem for both Baudrillard and for Hamlet. They're dealing with the same issue, which is that How do you tell the difference between what seems to be and what is? Because she says, why do you seem so sad? And he says, no, 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 no. I do seem sad, but I am sad. But how do you ever know? How do you ever know that people aren't pretending? How do you ever know that it's, because again, like with a painting, like with clones, how do you know it's really the person or if it's just a copy or image of the person? So Hamlet says, yes, I'm wearing black. My face looks sad. I'm crying, and I'm sighing wherever I go, and I feel down. But he says that it seems. He says, no, 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 but that I actually do feel these things. But the problem is nobody can ever know what's going on in someone's heart. So I'm sure you've had friends that seemed angry or seemed upset, I'm sure you've had friends that seemed like they liked you and they talk shit about you behind your back. It seemed like they were your friend, but really they weren't. And so Hamlet's concerned here. This speech, his mother's like, why does it seem so bad with you? And he's like, no, 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 no. I don't want to talk about just what appears to be, what seems. I don't want to talk about images. He says, I want to talk about reality. This is Hamlet's whole problem, is he doesn't know if anything, he doesn't even know what's real. Later in the play, he's like, maybe that ghost that told me that he was murdered by my uncle was lying. Maybe it just seemed like that, but the ghost is wrong. Hamlet's constantly, he's not sure he can trust anything or anyone, like Baudrillard. He's worried about the confusion. And then to make things extra confusing, he points out that, yes, he has all of these qualities. He's sighing, he's crying, he has a sad face. He says, these indeed seem, for they are actions that a man might play like an actor. But I have that within which passes show, meaning I really am sad. So he says, listen, look, I know I'm doing all these things that make me seem sad, but that's just what an actor on a stage who was pretending to be sad would do. I'm actually sad. But what makes this confusing is, for me sitting in the audience, and always remember to talk about what the director's doing and what the audience watches. For me sitting in the audience, he's like, I really am sad. An actor might pretend to be sad by doing these things, but I really am sad. And in the world of the play, it's like, oh, I see your point. But me sitting on the stage, I'm watching the play being like, but you are an actor in a play, and you are just pretend. Like the actor playing Hamlet, Kenneth Branagh in the movie, for example, is just pretending to be sad. And then the character says, actors pretend to be sad, but I really am sad. But that part where he says, I really am sad, that's it. I'll do it another way. Hamlet says to his mother, I may seem like I'm sad, but actors pretend to be sad all the time. They're lying. They're not really sad. I really am sad. But then when I'm watching the play, to me, I'm like, Kenneth Branagh is pretending to be sad because he's being Hamlet. But he doesn't really feel sad about his dad. Maybe his dad isn't even dead. He's just pretending his dad got murdered by his dad because he's pretending because that's what actors do. And so there's a confusion of levels there, right? Where Hamlet says, listen, actors pretend to be sad, but I really am sad. And I'm sitting in my seat in the theater being like, you are an actor. You are pretending to be sad. And you're saying you're not pretending to be sad, and your mother doesn't know that, but I know that because I'm sitting in the chair. That's why you always, always, always got to talk about what's going on with the actor and the director, with actors and audiences and directors. So it's a really important part. Your papers will be very limited if you only talk about Hamlet like he's a real person. Please talk about Hamlet like he's a real person, but also talk about what are you thinking about? What is the audience thinking about when they're watching the play, and what is the person who created the play, the director, the actors, what are they trying to do? It's a very, very, very important thing. Okay, cool. So to that end, we're now going to move on to Derrida. So let me get that fucking thing out, even though it's goddamn impossible. And again, I may flip out and refuse to do any of that because Derrida's fucking impossible. But I'm going to pull it out anyway, and let's give it a shot. As soon as you read the first paragraph, you're going to see it's going to make you want to cry real hard. Although again, so Baudrillard's interested in images. Derrida is interested in words and how words work. Hamlet, by the way, is also interested in how words work. At one point in the play, when he's very upset with himself for not doing anything, he says, must I, like a whore, unpack my heart with words? And the idea is that sex workers say they love you, but they don't really love you. They're just pretending. You see that same thing about seems to be versus really is that Baudrillard is interested in. So Hamlet says, must I, like a whore, unpack my heart with words? Because he's mad at himself. He's saying, like a sex worker, I just talk and talk and talk, but I don't really feel it in here. That's what Derrida is interested in, and we'll get to that in the next video.